Welcome back to the Naked Podcast. This is Janelle, and today's episode is a little different. There are no guests, it's just me and something I wrote. I haven't always written. It's something I kind of stumbled into a few years ago without really knowing the why behind it. But over time, it became really clear that writing is where I find clarity, healing, and perspective. I've been writing quietly for years now, and for the first time, I'm starting to share it publicly, starting with you. I'm honestly so excited, but equally as scared to let these pieces live outside of my notebook. It feels extremely vulnerable and raw. I want to thank you for being here and for listening. This is a giant leap for me. If something I share speaks to you, I would love to know more about it. Or if maybe you know someone who might need to hear this, just pass it along. Thanks again. Before we dive into this episode, I just want to say this piece came out of something I picked up, dropped, and eventually found my way back to. You know the way we all do when things matter, then all of a sudden they just don't, like they just fall out of our view? For me, returning can feel like a reminder that I failed, so I avoid it and kind of just don't go back to it. Lately, though, I heard someone talk about how we can reframe the idea of the return. So if you've ever drifted from something and felt the ache to come back but couldn't quite get there, I think this one will offer a new way for you to think about it, and hopefully you'll find it easier to return in the future. A while back, I started listening to some of Elizabeth Gilbert's work. Most of her know her as the bestseller of Eat, Pray, Love. The book that became a movie, the one that inspired so many to take the step out of our norms and start a quest that would connect us to ourselves and the world around us in a new way, bringing a refreshing perspective to our lives. I can recall watching the movie for the first time. The scene when Julia Roberts is sitting on the floor pleading for an answer from God. The overwhelming desperation. Gosh, I will never forget wiping my own tears as Julia wept on her knees. That was my first and last introduction to Liz Gilbert and the work that she'd written, until about 2 years ago, when I stumbled on a podcast where she was talking about a practice she started over 25 years ago called Letters from Love. She explained that writing compassionate, loving letters to herself was a way to combat loneliness and depression. I was so intrigued, but I had no idea how to start something like this. With her eloquence and purposely chosen words, she went on to tell why this becomes such an important daily practice. I can't fully remember how she expressed the why behind the Letters from Love, so in the words of Elizabeth Gilbert, I will let her explain. This is from her introduction on Substacks, the why behind the Letters from Love. Self-loathing is a rampant virus in our contemporary culture, so prevalent as to have become the default setting in most of our minds. Seldom do we stop to question whether it is normal or healthy to live within a consciousness that is constantly attacking, judging, and insulting itself. But to condemn yourself as unlovable is to swallow a terrible lie. And to believe that you must earn love through perfectionism or that you must seek love from others in order to become whole turns all of us into hungry beggars. I believe there is an ocean of warm, affectionate, and outrageously unconditional love available to us all, and that it is conveniently accessible from within. I don't believe anyone is excluded from this ocean of love. It is only a question of learning how to hear it, how to feel it, and how to trust it. Gosh, the way she weaves her words together has the most poignant depth. This is why I love listening to her voice. On the podcast, she said all of this in her very Liz way. To me, her voice feels like a warm blanket on a cold night, like the most soothing cup of tea to my soul. With this, she had my attention, and I just wanted to know more about these letters. So I looked up every podcast that she'd been on, absorbing as much of her wisdom as possible. The more I heard her talk about it, the more open I became to the idea of writing a letter from love. Still, I had so many questions on how to start something like this. I'd attempted a few times, but my mind was just completely blank. Until October 2023, when we were living in the damp coolness of Glasgow, Scotland. I decided I was going to create a morning routine, a conversation I'd been having with myself for way too long. And I knew I needed structure, something to get me moving towards the things I was telling myself were very important, but never made time for. Some were simple things like flossing my teeth, noting what I am grateful for, pushing back my cuticles. But others were more difficult, like jumping into 2-minute freeze my ass off cold showers every morning, which in Scotland is damn cold. The Scottish water comes out of the tap 3 degrees colder than any suggested cold plunge temp. But the hardest by far was creating space to write the words that were sitting in my heart. For the first 2 weeks, no words came to the surface. I was just looking at a blinking cursor. And then the thought to write a letter from love came up again. And this time, words floated out of me effortlessly, just me and love. If there's a way for my loving 80-year-old self to talk to me, this was it, a welcoming. The gentle, wisest, all-loving self finally got the mic. Turns out love knew me better than I knew myself. It knows my weaknesses, my questions, what makes me feel small, the things that take up space in my head that no one else knows about, the banter that plays on repeat, my ego, the pride, fears about tomorrow, the way I speak to my body, the disappointments I marinate in, the perpetuating thoughts that have used my mind as their nesting ground, the confusion, the shadows I lean into without realizing, the choices that I make because I've built reoccurring patterns that feel too uncomfortable to escape. All of this, love shined light on, allowing me to see what's holding me back. To me, love is gentle and kind, but also clear and assertive. No tiptoeing. Love calls me out on my bullshit in ways that gets me moving. And though I love to tell you that ever since that day, I have fallen into a daily practice of writing letters from love, and that it's been a constant voice in my life, I gotta say, I haven't. Because I've come and gone from this practice. Isn't it strange how we sometimes leave the best practices in our lives? We just let them go, allowing other things to take their place. I've definitely done this over and over in my life. I think this is where many of us get it down on ourselves, shrinking, viewing it as another failure in our lives, a shameful disappointment. This has definitely kept me from returning. I'm trying to change the narrative around the stops and starts, leaving room for me to get it wrong and not hold it over my head. Instead, just know that I'm going to be trying again. I heard a lovely monk explain it best when describing meditation. He says the true work is noticing, oh, I wandered, and gently guiding your attention back to your breath. That recoil is not failure. It is a strength in action. Every return nudges the pathway of mindfulness a little more, shaping your mind towards presence and clarity, training you to come back to the present moment again and again, is precisely where transformation unfolds. It's about waking up inside my thoughts, noticing when I'm in that space, hearing the thoughts. It's in the returning. Every time we return, that's where the strength is built. I had never heard anyone explain it this way. I can recall many times being the girl in the yoga class trying to focus on the rise and fall of my breath, but instead I'm chasing my monkey mind the entire time, feeling horrible about it, wondering why I can't just get my mind to stop jumping from one thing to another. But if it isn't layered in shame, and I just notice the wandering and kindly lead myself back to my breath, knowing that's the strength in action, gosh. This idea, the returning, isn't about my lack or weakness, but rather it's about noticing when I've wandered and choosing to return over and over again. This is where transformation begins. Shifting the way I view myself when I've wandered and become distracted, it's removed the guilt. So I continue to return, knowing that this won't be the last time I'm starting again. I'm learning to celebrate the returning, whether it's writing, morning routines, going to the gym, or whatever else I start and stop. Returning is a success, a muscle I will always be working. These days, I am noticing that the space between the coming and the going are less of a gaping hole and more of a little gap. But I gotta be honest, the returns aren't easy. Resistance sits on my ass, and it's a definite deterrent to returning and starting again. Just this week, I fought the ever-persistent resistance and wrote a letter from love again. Though I do this now more than ever, it's been weeks since I've heard from love, and I'd forgotten how insightful it can be. Things have felt heavy, not because of circumstances around me, but because of what's going on in me. My friends and I explain this feeling as spaghetti brains. One thought crossing over another, and another spiraling into another, and before we know it, we're feeling everything at the same time. Joy bumps into fear, fear turns into hopelessness, hopelessness spins into optimism, sadness, overwhelm, depletion, lethargic, and so on it goes. Thankfully, I don't feel this way like I did in my early 40s when perimenopause took the stage in my body. but symptoms sporadically do show up from time to time, reminding me I am still in it. The stint was longer than most. After 9 days of waking up in a cloud with the sameness from yesterday, I remembered the words of Liz Gilbert. I believe there is an ocean of warm, affectionate, and outrageously unconditional love available to us all, and that it is conveniently accessible from within. I don't believe anyone is excluded from this ocean of love. It is only a question of learning how to hear it, how to feel it, and how to trust it. So I returned, asking love, what do you have for me today? Hello, my love. I hear all that you are telling me, but more than hear it, I feel it in you. The thoughts floating in and out of your head, the devastating, heartbreaking ones that stick around until you feel them in your bones, and you flinch because it feels oh too real. I notice the struggles. I am here, guiding you towards the light even on the hard, dark days. Here's the thing though, you get to decide what you stare at and how long you stay there. Think of it like changing the channel. If something disturbing comes up on a show, you often feel it in your gut, asking yourself, is the show good for me? Instantly you know if it's going to keep you up at night or not. In that moment, you decide to stay and watch it or turn it off. That's up to you. So let me ask you, where is your focus? What station are you tuning into? Sure, there can be a lot going on in your head, but what are you choosing to stare at? The hopelessness? The fear? I know this season in life can come with a tsunami of feelings, raining without warning. And sometimes it's hard to find shelter because it's raining everywhere. But still, what are you listening to? What words are flooding into your view? Can you find something else to tune into instead of listening to it on repeat? I know you want to fix this, as I do, but this will require you to try new things. It's up to you to notice what's in your now. All the space you are living in, seeing the ocean, the sunsets, green, lush nature, going to the gym, eating delicious food, sleeping in a comfy bed, buying a pineapple for $1, eating fresh fish, slow journaling mornings, closeness with your kids, space to write, sitting with the muse, napping, connecting with your love, wedding planning with your daughter. My God, girl, look around you. Remind yourself of days when you had more have-tos than you could count, when your heart palpitated and your eyes twitched, when you slept beside a stranger for years, how the laundry piled high and floors were sticky, all waiting for you to bring some kind of order. See what you have, find gratitude, feel the goodness of the season. When you feel lost, dark, like running anywhere but here, stop. Notice your breath and think about what you are grateful for. You must remember where you've come from to see and fully appreciate who you've become. Sure, life isn't easy at times, but you are in a season where you can feel your pulse, where you aren't ordered into a million directions. You can possess clarity, contentment, joy, momentum, stillness, if you move that into your focus. Trust me, it's not as dark as it seems. Peer out, notice the light. It's all around you. Okay, now have a nap. We will start this day right in a little bit, but for now, close your eyes and rest. After I read this a few times, I realized that I have been tuning into the same channel. It's as if things in my head have been standing right in front of me, blocking my view, becoming the only thing I am looking at. But love is right. I can change the channel, choosing to let the noticing of these thoughts be my awakening, my cue, the trigger that leads me to return. To listen to love, tasting, smelling, touching, hearing what is right in front of me. This is where my mind is clear, where gratitude ripples to the surface, causing the world to be brighter, where I am tuned in to the goodness of life, focused, grounded in wildly tenacious, unending love. I want to thank you so much for being here, for taking the time to listen to the Naked podcast. It honestly means so much. If there's something in the episode that has moved you, share it with someone who might need to hear it too. And if you haven't already, give us a follow and leave a review. It helps so much to keep the momentum and keep the show growing. For more conversations, reflections, and ways to stay connected, check out the link in the show notes. Until next time. If you would like to connect with us or possibly share your story, please contact us at nakedwithjanelle@gmail.com. That's nakedwithjanelle@gmail.com. Thanks so much.